huge fan of Cam, but I've always thought there's something there with Jameis. I think he's really talented, super productive. How do you think it plays out with Sean Payton? My gut feeling is it works.
Well, Colin, I'll tell you, my 3 observations, very brief. Number 1, I don't think this is going to be only a Jameis Winston production. I think Sean Payton is going to divide up the work between Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill. I don't think it'll be an even division of the work, but I think Taysom Hill will play more than he played when Drew Brees was playing. That's number 1. Number 2, everybody looks at Jameis Winston and says, oh, my God, he's going to be great. His teammates love him. He's great in the locker room. He's a great teammate. He's got a wonderful arm, knows the offense, everything. But then he goes out and throws 30 interceptions.
Yeah.
And in his last throw ever as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, he stares down the Atlanta Falcons linebacker, throws it right in his chest, and it's a walk-off touchdown. And look, there are many people who you love and who you want to succeed, but that doesn't mean that they are going to be successful. Now, the third thing I would say, the day that Sean Payton and the New Orleans Saints hired Jameis Winston, I got a call from somebody who knows who knows Sean Payton very well, and he said this, that Jameis Winston will not be a turnover machine in New Orleans if he ever has to play. And if he is a turnover machine, he will not play, period, because Sean Payton will not take it. He's gotten used to a guy who throws an interception every 3 games. So he's not going to stand for it if 2 or 3 times every game Jameis Winston is throwing it to the other team.
It's funny about coaching. We know quarterbacks run this league, but coaches are, right after that, very crucial. And you can never really know who's going to work. I mean, if I watched Tom Coughlin coach at Boston College, I did not think he'd beat Brady and Belichick twice in a Super Bowl. Judge, I thought Joe Judge was a reach. I think the Giants now are the best 3-7 team I've seen in years. Brian Flores has done everything right in Miami. Do you think Miami feels like a top 6-7 team to me? Are you surprised by how good Miami is in this rebuild midway through year 2?
Colin, before this season, when I picked all the division winners, I think I was the only person in humankind to pick Miami to win the AFC East. And so a friend of mine from Miami called me and he goes, wow, what are you doing? They're not that good. And I said, well, I know I don't love them, but I said, I really love the coach. And I said, there's just something about it. I can't sit here right now and tell you how they're going to win or what exactly is going to happen to make them win. I just know that last year at midseason, they were the worst team in football and it wasn't close.
Right.
And then over the next 2 months, they had a better record than the New England Patriots. Somehow, some way that happened. And then in the offseason, they had another good offseason. They got their quarterback. They got Emmanuel Ogbah, who nobody believed was going to be very good because he was always hurt. And now he's contending for the sack leadership in the league. And Tua's 3-0 with a quarterback rating 10 points higher than Ryan Fitzpatrick's was.
Yeah.
So he makes the right calls. And one other thing. He got rid of both his offensive and defensive coordinator after his first year. He's decisive.
Yeah.
He's like Mike Tomlin in many ways.
Yeah. By the way, I'll say this. Steve Keim, I know Steve, the GM of Arizona. And one of the things that men don't like to be wrong, and if they are, they don't like to admit it publicly. That's my psycho babble for today. Steve Keim literally, with both his head coach and his quarterback, said 1 year in, yeah, I whiffed on that. I'm going to do over. And the owner of Arizona is like, all right, I'll give you do-over. And I think it looks like he's hit 2 home runs. This is what paralyzes organizations, Peter, when the GM makes a mistake and doesn't want to own up to it. Steve Keim, to me, wins the Executive of the Year for acknowledging he kind of whiffed on a couple of key positions. Because when I look at Arizona, you cannot deny they look Cliff Kingsbury is working. He is learning on the job, but this feels like, to me, it's not a mirage. Arizona's a real team.
Right. I just wonder sometimes, Colin, 20 years from now, when Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace look back at their careers and they say, I wonder if they're going to say, man, we stuck way too long with a quarterback who we didn't believe in.
Yes.
But you know why? Because they drafted him second overall.
Yes.
I wonder if that's what they're going to say 20 years from now about Mitchell Trubisky. Whereas, look, I think everybody in the NFL thought that Steve Wilks and Josh Rosen got an absolute bum deal from the Arizona Cardinals. Not just a few people. Everybody thought that what they did was awful. And, look, fortunately, unfortunately, whatever, I mean, it really looks like that is going to turn out to be a good call by them.
Yeah.
And let's wait and see a little bit. They just had an incredible victory. If that ball gets knocked away, are we doing this small segment in our show?
Yeah.
Are we that they lost 2 games in a row at home, both of which they should have won? Would we be saying wonderful things? Maybe not. But I agree with you. And Kyler Murray is such an incredible player. And I said to him the other day, because I talked to him after the game, I said, I just want you to know, I've been covering the league for 35 years or so. I really love watching you play football.
Yeah.
I said, and I'm glad you played football,
Right.
And so, but that's the way that team is right now. It's so fun to watch.
Yeah, well, the advantage, both Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray could be baseball players in the bigs. But, the bottom line, there's a lot of reasons why they chose football. One of it is football gives you a free scholarship. 2, you don't have to go in the minor leagues for 5 years. You could go from college, Wisconsin, to the NFL. It's a big advantage football has over baseball.
But how about, Colin, how about this? Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray all got drafted, and people tried to talk every one of them into playing baseball. And they just wouldn't do it, and lucky for football.
So I defended Lamar Jackson, who is now 25-3 in games against anybody not named Patrick Mahomes. And I said, it's funny about him. Josh Allen has played Belichick 4 times. He's been awful 3 of them, and not great the last time. Lamar's played him twice, beat him once, and I thought was pretty effective, although he lost in a monsoon in Foxborough. In my take, every weekend, every time he loses, I just hear this avalanche of Lamar doubters, and I'm like, folks, if Patrick Mahomes doesn't exist, he's probably got a Super Bowl somewhere in this eventually. So your take, do you believe, though, because he doesn't play quite as well from behind, that's indisputable, do you believe there's at least murmurs, talk of a little concern about that in Baltimore?
Probably, but fans will be fans. The front office, I still think, is a big believer overall in Lamar Jackson. And look, Colin, that team right now is just so incredibly beat up.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying they shouldn't win and they don't have enough talent to win, but look at the valuable players that they have lost. Just, they've lost in the last month, I bet, 10 valuable players, really valuable players. And Sunday, look, it's hard to win in New England anyway, and I don't think they lost that game because of a monsoon, although it didn't help. I think they lost that game because Calais Campbell isn't there. Their run defense isn't nearly as good. They're missing. They got 2 huge injuries on the offensive line. Their blocking tight end now is gone.
Yeah.
It's just, this is a different team than the one that ransacked the AFC last year.
Good stuff. Peter King, Football Morning in America, NBCSports.com. Votes for the Pro Football Hall of Fame since 1992, the Board of Selectors. Peter, as always, we appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you, Colin.
All right, the herd hierarchy, top of next hour, and Notre Dame football coach Brian Kelly coming up next. LeBron created player empowerment. I mean, players always moved a little, but LeBron made it cool and fashionable. Is it good for the NBA? I'll talk about that coming up. Wouldn't it be great if a company treated you